Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are releasing the final group of our rookie draft class, and that will be wide receivers. So I'll do my top 20 wide receiver prospects in this rookie class for the draft before Thursday. So we will look at that. But first, we have a lot of options being exercised in other league news for you, Jeff. What is the first domino here?
So we had the Ravens exercise wide receiver Zay Flowers, 5th-year option. That seems like a no-brainer move. And we also had the Texans do the same for quarterback CJ Stroud. It seemed like a no-brainer, but Alex might beg to differ on that. And then what took so long, 5th-year option exercise in Falcons running back Bijan Robinson. Like, I didn't even think he was up because I thought he would have been before Bryce Young and I think several others. So I think there's been about 10 options, though, exercised so far.
CJ Stroud's made a lot of sense in the standpoint where $25 million for that 5th year isn't a lot for a quarterback these days and a starting quarterback. And it gives them wiggle room if he does well this year. They're not as screwed basically if he does well and then he can just bolt and leave. They don't have to franchise tag him and eat up another $20 million. They can negotiate with him. If he does medium this year, then they can decide whether or not to give up on him and move on. And that having 1 year left at $25 million is reasonable enough to be able to trade him somewhere else and not lose as much leverage as, the Cardinals that had Kyler Murray and the Dolphins that had Tua, both on long, expensive contracts. So nobody wanted them at that price. 1 year, $25 million. Let's the team decide, whether or not to extend them or not. So makes sense all around to me. I don't have a problem with it. I expected it. But it's just if he stinks this year, I don't want to give him an extension.
I feel like the Panthers were in the same boat, so I completely understand what you were saying there. But that wasn't the only Falcons move of the day, of the time period here, which I know you'll agree that Bijan and Zay Flowers had to be tagged. I don't know if you saw before I hop over to the franchise tag news here, but Zay Flowers admitted to trash talking the Steelers before Tyler Loop's field goal attempt that was missed last year, and he said he just put his after it was missed, he just put his helmet on and went right to the locker room and kept his head down.
That's not good.
Hey, you gotta be self-aware though in the moment. Like, he was trash talking and he was like, this was probably a bad thing, and I feel like he's very grown up to discuss it now, even 4 months later. So
I guess. You know who is interesting about they haven't exercised his 5th year option? That's Quentin Johnston with the Chargers. So apparently they've received no trade requests. They've called no one about trading him, but they haven't decided whether or not they're exercising his 5th year option. Do you think they will? Do you think he is secretly on the block? What do you think about him going into this offseason and next year?
Well, you know how I feel about these things is I prefer to wait closer to the deadline, which I think is May 1st for this. We still have a big event in the draft. What if they walk away with a steal at wide receiver that they didn't expect to be there, and it just changes what their future looks like? Like, it's just, you're kind of boxing yourself in very quickly into more expensive asset too. So right now, Johnston is cheap, on the cheaper side of wide receivers. And when you do that 5th year option, it's going to be on the more expensive side of wide receivers. So Why?
Yeah, I think that they are keeping their options open, like you said. They don't come away with a wide receiver that's going to contribute early, then they're probably going to keep him. If they do get someone in the first or second round that they really like, they might be willing to part with him to another team that missed out. So I agree with that. I personally wouldn't exercise his 5th year option. I don't think that he is worth the value of that. To me, he's always
Right.
been kind of a deep threat role playing guy, and I don't think that he should have been a first round pick. So I think that they're trying to navigate this as skillfully as they can. And ultimately, if they keep him, they'll decline it. Otherwise, if somebody else really likes him, they'll trade him.
No, I would agree with that as well. All right. So a guy that his future is a bit murky is Kyle Pitts, the tight end for the Falcons. He does sign his franchise tag tender, so they can't rescind it during the draft or after the draft. So he's guaranteed that he's got his franchise tag, and he still has until July to sign a long-term deal, which I don't know if this staff wants to do that, actually. So we will see with Kyle Pitts going forward. What do you think happens with Kyle Pitts?
I think he's most likely to play on the tag and prove that he can keep his production up. Otherwise, he'll walk. He's already been paid reasonably high as top 10 pick as a draft pick. Now having I think a 5th year option last year and now being franchise tagged, I think he's been paid as high as you can expect for a tight end contract.
Agreed. All right. So we have the Titans signing wide receiver KJ Osborne to a 1 year deal. It just seems like they're trying to shore up their receiving core. They may not even take a receiver in this draft because of how many receivers that they already have rostered. And then you have the Raiders sign quarterback Kirk Cousins to a 5 year deal. What's your thoughts on a 5 year Kirk Cousins deal?
Wow. I think it was like a 3-year deal plus a 2-year team option or something weird like that. But I think we both know that it is just some financial tomfoolery and that it's not actually a 5-year deal.
We will see, won't we?
There's no way he's going to be playing well into his 40s.
I guess it boils down to a 1 year deal worth 20 million fully guaranteed. So I mean, good for him for continuing to get that guaranteed money. But yeah, it sounds like he'll be the week 1 starter right now too. So we will
Yeah,
see what that looks like.
they've been very adamant this entire offseason that they are very clear that they want their rookie quarterback to sit and learn and soak up information, watch a veteran play in a veteran way, and probably not get beat up with that O line the way that it is. So they may not be able to fix it fully. Why not let a 38-year-old, 39-year-old quarterback take the beating rather than your rookie?
Don't disagree there. And we just have 2 more pieces of news. The first one you're not going to be super happy with. You might actually not be happy with either of these. The NFL has concluded its investigation into Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice, and there will not be any discipline as it was found that he did not violate the NFL's personal conduct policy.
I don't think that was the wording. I think the wording was they didn't have enough evidence that he did. So, but
Since
either
when do they
way,
operate on evidence?
that's why. What do you think an investigation is, Jeff? You're finding evidence. But anyway, it's not a legal investigation. It's a club organization, civilian investigation, and they can't prove anything specifically. And since they can't one way or the other, there's not enough evidence to stack up, not enough facts to stack up. He's not going to be suspended. I mean, they did what they're supposed to do. I mean, I think ultimately, she Rice is likely to do something stupid again and actually get suspended.
It's possible.
I think the Chiefs are worried about both of their top wide receivers not being available for various reasons and might go for another pass game weapon. We'll see.
We sure
I don't
will.
think he's getting. I don't think he's going to get a second contract with the Chiefs. Do you?
Good question. It depends if he can keep his nose clean this year. So we will see. I hope so because he's one of my favorite receivers when he's on the field, and I think that he's solidified into my top 10, top 12 receivers now. Like he's out there.
You know what I've realized about you and your type of wide receivers? You like fast bad boys. You like the Tyreek Hills. You
Fast and
like the
furious.
Rices. Like you really like the bad boys. You like the bad boys with the motorcycles and the leather jackets. That's what I've realized about you and your wide receiver choices.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I
All
like I
right.
like the reliable guys, Jeff. Reliable.
I
They're
know
gonna
you
be
like
there.
old, you love old reliable, but sometimes it's hard to tell who old reliable is, and sometimes those wheels fall off of them quicker.
Get
Their
the
ceilings
Henry
aren't as high.
Ruggs, the Henry Ruggs guys. All the bad boys.
I've never been a Henry Ruggs guy. That was never. I just never bought into anything that the Raiders drafted. So like that was always a rule
No.
for me.
I will say I initially liked Henry Ruggs, and I think he might have been able to be something, maybe, but we'll never know. We'll never know now.
Just like how many licks it takes to get to the center of Tootsie Pop, the world may never know. But Ruggs, as you mentioned, is a fully unrestricted free agent and potentially free from prison as of August. So 26 or 27 years old, he may still have a second life here. We will see. But speaking of second lives here, the last piece of news is a pre-draft trade with the Eagles acquiring wide receiver Dontavian Wicks for 2 late-round picks from the Packers, and they also signed him to a 1-year extension as well. So they have him for this year and next year. I think it was a $12.5 billion extension for 2027. This is not just a 1-year deal, and we'll see what that means.
I don't know why they keep acquiring these end of the roster type wide receivers, but your team doesn't pass enough. The Eagles don't pass enough for him to be worth it. And he's not a wide receiver too, so if you trade away AJ Brown, like everyone thinks you're going to trade AJ Brown, Wicks is not going to be a good wide receiver too, even if you did pass a lot. So I don't really understand it that much for the Eagles standpoint. I understand it for the Packers. You're probably not going to pay him. Might as well get something for him. Good move for the Packers. I don't know why they keep playing the shuffle game at wide receiver.
I don't know, but it does seem like they're going to be moving off of one AJ Brown shortly because there is a lot of smoke around that with all these moves. But as you say, we will believe it when we see it.
Let me channel my Harry Roseman for a second. AJ Brown is a Philadelphia Eagle. He's a Philadelphia Eagle. My answer is not going to change.
That is factually correct. That is right now. It just may not be factually correct in a few weeks.
I think they should just trade Jalen Hurts. Why are they trading AJ Brown? Just get a different quarterback.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I also don't see them taking that risk right now. And I don't know why. Because they're a team that is not shy about taking risks and making sure that they have the best available pieces in. If you look at Andy Reid being shipped out, and if you look at others being shipped out like Carson Wentz, it's very controversial moves that have kept them relevant.
I mean, I've never thought about this before until just this moment, but what if they signed Aaron Rodgers and shipped off Hurts? I mean, I feel
They
like
could do that, but will
this
they?
team is set up. It's set up better than the Steelers are to support Aaron Rodgers.
Although they have Pittman now and Metcalf, so they're trying. And you would argue that Fryermuth is probably a top 15 tight end in the league, receiving wise.
Once Aaron Rodgers is gone, yes.
Yeah. I mean, there was some games where he blew up with Aaron Rodgers, and I wish that they didn't keep forcing Jonnu on the field last year.
Yeah. Well, I like Jonnu Smith, but the tight end room was so cluttered. I mean, they had Jonnu Smith, Fryermuth, Darnell Washington, and Casey Hayward. I'm like, what are you guys doing? This is too much.
Do,
Art
doing
Smith
too
sucks.
much. Doing too much. So we'll see what Wicks does. He projects to be the third receiver on the team right now and bumping Hollywood Brown down to number 4. So We will see, though. All right, Alex, you ready for your top 20 rookie wide receivers? And we're going to start with number 20.
Are we still doing this? No, just kidding.
Oh,
This is somebody that you've asked me about a couple times, is Jacoby Lane out of USC. I mean, other people have him higher, other people have him lower, but I have him right here at 20. He's 6'4", tall, lanky. He's got big hands. I think that he is still raw. He's not yet shown a full route tree or discipline that you would expect a pro to have. So I think he's going to be maybe a wide receiver 4 initially and develop behind some starters. But I think he could end up developing everything that you want from a starting X caliber wide receiver. He had pretty good production for USC and was one of USC's most dangerous downfield threats. I think he's long, rangy, has a rare catch point, and I really like that he has 10.5-inch hands and a 80-inch wingspan. I mean, that's really nice. So I think that he attacks the ball and is more like an experienced rebounder than a typical wide receiver, and that's always nice to have. A giant catcher. He's definitely a boundary guy and not a slot guy. And he's a little weak in traffic, so he can work on that. But I like his potential. Definitely not a for sure thing, but he was very productive last year with USC. 849 yards and 11 touchdowns on 50 catches. My comp is kind of Mike Williams-ish, but skinny.
okay. That's pretty cool. I have him at 6.9 points per game going into this year with those early projections, obviously. Those will change once we get to his team. And I have him at wide receiver 68 with that. So for this
Okay.
year in fantasy.
There's another popular name right now because he has a brother that's still hanging on to barely an NFL career. Bryce Lance out of North Dakota State at 19. He's a little bit old for a prospect for me. He's also a big guy. He's got smaller hands than Ja'Cory at 9 and 3/8, and he has a 79.5-inch wingspan. He had a blazing fast 40, as everybody knows, 4.34 at the combine with a 1.49 10-yard split. His production the last 2 years was pretty incredible, but it was against much lower competition, which is his main concern. He is definitely an X outside receiver, deep threat. He can develop into something more than what he is because he definitely needs a lot of polish and he's going to be a volatile threat. I really view him more as MVS type, or he would fit really well in with what the Packers like to do, get really fast guys on the boundary. I think he's extremely talented and obviously he's very athletic, but at his age, he should be more polished than what he is. It might take some time, and I can't really see him being a big contributor right away. So I know you really like athletes, Jeff. What do you think of Bryce Lance here?
I mean, I love him. He's definitely a guy that I'm going to grab in Madden when the new copy comes out. That's for sure. But as far as real life, I would agree with you. We're going to have to see what he can do, but I currently have him at wide receiver 46 on the year with a 9.2 points per game stat line.
It's a little
So
high. That's a little high, Jeff.
We'll see what team he goes to.
All right. The number 18 for me is Brennan Thompson out of Mississippi State. He's the first little guy on the list at 5'9", 3/8 inches and 164 pounds. He's got small arms and small wingspan, but he had a 4.26 40, which is very fast. I think that he could potentially be a rotating starter at some point. I really think that like a Dree Archer type, Tutu Atwell type is kind of what you're looking at with him. He has very good separation. He can really understand space. He's a little bit more than raw speed. That gives him a chance to track on deep threat throws, vertical throws. But his route tree table is a little bit better than I expected when I watched him. He is impressive for a small guy, but he's small. And that's going to affect him. The physical game is going to challenge him, and he's going to have a hard time with press corners. But, if you can get by them, you're going to have some really nice, volatile plays. Yeah. So Tutu Atwell is kind of where I have with him, and that's pretty much it. Were you aware of him before? What do you think of Brendan Thompson?
No, I actually just getting my first look at him, but Tutu Atwell sounds like a bad comp to me, just knowing what Tutu turned into, but obviously he probably never hit his ceiling, and 5'9", 170-pound wide receiver, so we'll see where he goes. Sounds like a guy that'll be on the slot more than not, but that's just his body type.
Well, I think we get too locked into size means slot. I think he's more of a boundary guy. I don't think that he is a slot receiver. He's more of a field stretcher, an explosive guy. So we're gonna come across guys that have much bigger bodies that I think are gonna be slot guys because of what their game is like. So there's big body slots and there's small body slots. Like Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs is an outside guy and he's small. So I think Brendan Thompson's an outside guy.
Absolutely. And I still think they use Xavier Worthy like a slot versus a true outside receiver. Even if they line him up outside, he's usually doing a bunch over the.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean slot. What the Chiefs do is they stack their routes to create separation and narrow the vision that Mahomes has to look at.
Yeah, I think of like true outside receivers when you think of like your Mike Evans and stuff, people that could go up one on one versus a guy, and I couldn't see a 5'9" guy going up one on one versus a guy.
It depends. All of this, like we use the same terminology: X, Z, slot, I.
Yep.
They're all dependent on scheme, and they're all used differently. But traditional X is like an Andre Johnson type or Calvin Johnson type, like you said, Mike Evans type, big body, fast enough, goes vertical, or is a red zone threat. Like that's what we think of, right? But everything is different. So some have a lot of movement on the X route, some have a lot of movement on the Z, some have a lot of movement in slots. Some like to swap guys into all the different positions, and that's fine. Everyone's different, but sometimes you play with a little X, and I think he's a little X or a Z. You know,
If you say so.
yeah.
We will see.
All right, number 17 for me is I'm probably lower than most people are on him. It's Chris Brazzell, the second out of Tennessee. I think he's massive and athletic. 6'4", nearly 200 pounds. Good wingspan at 80 inches. 80 inches. 9-inch hands. Wish they were a little bit bigger for his size. Ran a 4.37.40, which is excellent. But got production in 2025 with 1,000 yards, receiving 9 touchdowns, and leading the SEC in both receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. But Tennessee has a gimmick offense. It's really hard to pin these guys down and really know if they're good or not, or if their gimmicky offense led to it. And come across the same issues with Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, which I think Chris Brazzell is kind of a combination of both of them, or some people view him as like a George Pickens freak athlete type that's very raw. You can also view him as Alec Pierce type. Like he could be any of these things. So he could be a combination of Hyatt and Tillman, which would be right now at the low end of the spectrum. And he could be a Alec Pierce in the middle. So someone who could have a rookie contract breakout. So like year 3, year 4. Or he could be someone like George Pickens that blows up with pure athleticism. We don't really know. And I think some people grade him higher based off of his freakish athleticism, but I'm telling you, he's super raw. He's very mediocre against, above average, I should say, against man and zone. He needs time to develop, but his potential is very, very high. So he's a low floor, super high ceiling type player. If those were a little bit closer together, then I would have him higher than 17.
Okay. Yeah, I have him at 6.341 points a game, so 6.3 points a game, and wide receiver 76 going into this year.
I think someone is going to draft him too high. Like they might draft him in day 2, and I think that would be nuts. But speed's sexy.
It is. It is, especially to Mike McDaniel.
It's taken me a really long time to get over pure athleticism when it comes to prospects. And sometimes you just need them to meet the minimum thresholds of what you view a starter needs to have. Anything else is great, but what you need to focus on is how they actually play the game. And when it's wide receivers, do they catch? Do they catch the right way? Do they have special catches? Do they have separation? Do they play good against man or zone or both? Can they play physical? Can they block? Like these are more important than true speed. So
Agreed there. Agreed there. Did you just see the latest news that came through? It looks like the Texans just signed Will Anderson to a massive 3-year deal.
there was no reason to get started on that now, but I'm not mad at it.
It's done
That
now.
maybe they can even it out so the money doesn't hit huge 3 years from now. I'm okay with that.
It's ginormous.
Yeah, I think this is all signaling that Stroud's not going to be on the team next year. I think this is Stroud's last year. So
They've already activated his option, which is fully guaranteed. So we'll see what that
yeah,
does.
but they can trade him. It's fine. It's either that or they have to trade Stingley next year. If Stroud does well and they want to keep him, then they have to trade Stringley,
Yeah,
Stringy
probably
Stingley.
makes sense. I would rather have a great pass rusher than a great corner, but that's just me.
Well, by the time Will Anderson's contract really hits, Daniil Hunter will be off the team.
That's true. That is true.
All right, let's move on to 16. Let's power through these last 16 if we can. So, a lot of these guys are going to be speed guys because I don't value speed as highly as their production or hands. And Deion Burks out of Oklahoma is 16 for me. This is a lot more what I think his upside is than production because he had very little production in college. Last year was his best year, and he had 57 catches for 620 yards and 4 scores at Oklahoma. But I do think that is a lot due to his quarterback Mater not living up to his potential and kind of sucking. So I think Deion Burks has the chance to be better in the pros than he was in college. But I can't rate him that highly because there's a lot to be proven. He's 5'9", and 6'8", 180 pounds. He's got larger hands than some of these bigger guys below him. A little over 9.5 inches, and he's got a decent wingspan at 72 inches and 3/4 for his size. He ran a 4.340 and a 1.49 10-yard split. Jumped 42.5 inches vertically and posted an elite broad jump as well. And he had a great shuttle time. So, super athlete for his size. I think that he has enough short area twitch to threaten defenders and shake off them and use double moves. He could be one of the best vertical receivers in the game, one of the best yak receivers in the game. His above average hand-eye coordination and a low drop rate at Oklahoma. I think he could have been involved more in their system and could have used a better quarterback to really show off his skill case. The production is an issue and it's hard to project. He is short. He's got a limited route tree, but he's done enough to prove what his upside could be. He's low or high risk, high reward type player. Low floor, high ceiling. He is someone who could be a speed slot. He could also do outside. I think he could start as a useful wide receiver 3. I think he could really expand from there. There's a lot I like about him, that he could be kind of like a Jalen Noel prospect that I liked last year, that Jalen Noel could have a better year this year. But I like his upside. He's very interesting to keep an eye on, especially where he lands might make all the difference. So I don't know if he's someone that's been on your interest, Jeff?
He actually isn't. He's my wide receiver 113 with a 3.9 point per game projection early on. So obviously, landing spot will tell a lot of that, but we'll see what that looks like.
All right. Let's move on to my number 15, Skylar Bell out of UConn. He is an older prospect. He's going to be 24 when the year starts. 5'11 and a half, 192 pounds. He has 10-inch hands, and a much larger wingspan for his size than you would think at 77 inches. Is another 4'4", 40 guy, 41-inch vertical, 11-foot, 1-inch broad jump, and a fast shuttle and decent three cones. Very athletic guy. He had a very productive college career, and last year he had 1,278 yards and 13 touchdowns for UConn, for the Huskies. So I really like that he can be something. He's played outside, he's played slot, backfield with nearly every snap, even on off-ball, on-ball, off-ball splits. I do think that he has the jack of all trades, master of none ability, that he can do a lot of things, but he's not truly excellent at any one. But he improved with his ball skills and catch point ability last year. He does have 24 career drops. That's something that he needs to improve dramatically. Though he does track the ball well, he does use his body to protect the catch. And I think that right now the biggest concerns are age. There's the drops. There's the needing to polish something to be truly excellent. But he is a very, very savvy developmental slot or Z type wide receiver. He's got a lot of yak value, a lot of football intelligence, and I think he could be useful right away. It's kind of like a Khalil Shakir with more size, maybe a little bit more speed too. So I like that element, and I think people are going to be mixed on him. So I'm very curious. Like he could go fourth round, he could go second round, and it just depends on the team.
Yeah, I don't have him rated right now, so there's that. So
Yeah,
I would expect him to go a little bit later.
I think a lot of people have him probably like 19 or 20 on their wide receiver list. Oh. Yeah. I like him enough. All right, we got another short king here at 14. We have Zechariah Branch out of Georgia. He is 5'8" and a half, 177 pounds, 9-inch hands. Another speedy guy at 4'3", 540. He has had a lot of slot and screen play. He's very tiny, but he also has a heavily manufactured college role with all of the screenplays. I think it was charted out to be like 45%, which is unnaturally high. I think that was more offensive limitations, system limitations, rather than player limitations, because I really do think he could be moved into a more dangerous weapon role, like more slot play, more motion. I think he could also be a good explosive return specialist as well, just to get him on the field early. He's got an odd mix of like very good flashes and frustrating technique. So he can make an excellent one-handed catch and then drop a relatively easy one. We've seen that happen with other talented players before. He doesn't have bad hands. It's his body control and body adjustment just leaves too many routine catches harder than they should be. That's something that can be coached up. So I can see him be someone like your favorite wide receiver, Wandale Robinson. Like I think he could be someone that turns into like the guy that's everyone forgets about, but all of a sudden gets targeted 100 times in a season and gets 1,000 yards. And I think he could be. There's a lot of gadget guys and slot guys that end up being very useful. I think Branch has the potential to be a very good wide receiver 2 or 3 in the NFL.
I'm just interested to see if he keeps Zachariah.
I think Zachariah sounds good.
I know. I like it. I mean, that would greatly impact how much I like him. But 5.4 points per game for Branch, and I have him at a wide receiver. Let's see here. Where are you? 82 right now.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair because I don't think he'll get a lot of big stats early on in his career. He's got a lot to work on, but I think he could be someone that has like a third year explosion.
Absolutely. You're still waiting for Jalen Hyatt's third year explosion.
Yeah, I'm very close. I'm very close to just calling it on him because it's not looking good for him. I will say Cedric Tillman looks nice whenever he doesn't have multiple concussions. Anyway, number 13. This is a riser, Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. You know, he for being a 4-year player, he's still only going to be 22 when the season starts, but he's 6 foot almost 4, 9 3/4 hands, almost 80-inch wingspan, 4.42 40, decent vertical, really good broad jump. So he meets it on the drills, and he also has it with the production because he had 961 yards and 9 touchdowns on 56 catches in 2024, 1,004 yards and 6 touchdowns on 71 catches in 2025. I think that he is a legitimate routes and vision player. And I think he's got a lot more movement skill than the classic big, fast project stereotype. He's got efficient footwork at the top of routes and can snap the ball, and his route cadence and versatility are still developing, but he needs a little bit more polish and getting off the press. He's one that had issues with drops. Even though his hands aren't pristine, the tracking and tools are there. So drops, play strength, and press adjustments are his main concerns. He was coming off of a bad program and moved, so he got a little bit better, but he's a developmental XZ down the field threat type wide receiver. And he's another guy that gets compared to an Alec Pierce or anyone that typically takes a couple years to really explode onto the scene, but he definitely has a lot of talent, and he definitely is someone that can break out.
Yeah,
And he has the production.
absolutely. Yeah, and I really like him for his year one fantasy. We talked about Bryce Lance being wide receiver 46. Well, Ted Hurst is wide receiver 47 with a 9.2 point per game. So right in the same ballpark.
You like him more than I thought, but all right.
Yeah, we'll see where he lands, but he could be a steal in this draft because I still think he's going to go lower than he probably should.
Someone that I think could be a steal in this draft is number 12, Dejon Stribling out of Ole Miss. Yeah, he is going to be almost 24 when the season starts, but he's 6'2", 10-inch hands, 4.36 40 time. He was productive across multiple stops. He's built like a modern split in and test like a real vertical threat, well built frame, straight line acceleration. He has the ability to stack corners vertically. The concerns for him are very hard to find. The only thing is he doesn't have ideal length of arms for his size. So he's got shorter arms than some of the guys shorter than him. But I don't think that that's been a huge issue because he's been very productive. He ran a high amount of hitch routes, which is 50% of the routes that he ran. So he needs to be a little bit more versatile there and practice different schemes. Yeah. I think it may be difficult to be an initial starter in the league, but he's someone that so a GM with a keen eye will pick him up and be able to put him in a good role early. He is a slightly developmental prospect that could end up being a really good wide receiver 2 or 3. He's got the physical talent and mentality of a starter. Needs a little bit of refinement, like I said, in the route tree. But man, he is very close to ready. He looks like someone who's played for a few years.
All right, we will see. I don't have him rated just yet, so it's a guy that I will plan on looking at after the podcast.
Dejaun, DE''Zaun.
Yep, I see him. I have him pulled up to look at him I see some people have him at 57th on their board, so like a second round pick. Like I don't know if I see that.
Yeah, I think he's more likely to go third, fourth round and then outperform that spot. So
And see,
I don't think he's
I'd rather that.
yeah.
Is there
All
anything
right.
worse though when you draft somebody and they don't live up to it and you're just like, well, we spent this on you? I would rather it be the other way, like, oh, we
Well,
only spent this on you.
well, you could draft them, everyone make fun of you and call it a huge reach, and then they don't work out. Like that's the worst.
I know, like your buddy Tesla.
First of all, Tesla, like half his catches were touchdowns, Jeff. So you need to back off.
Touchdowns are the only thing that matters. You're right. Fantasy points.
My number 11 is Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. He is 6'1" and 2/8 and 206 pounds. He's got almost 10-inch hands, 75-inch wingspan. He ran a 4.48 40. Man, these wide receiver prospects get faster and faster, I tell you. Each year. To me, he's a better athlete than his public buzz suggests. He's more fluid and he's got real short area quickness, tempo, and hip flexibility. Bernard is already kind of a formation versatility guy that I would think, would make offensive coordinators more comfortable and they can fit him in wherever they need him. I think probably more as a movement Z or a big slot guy, but he can also play X. He probably doesn't have the pure downfield juice to stretch vertically at X, but I think he has enough. I think playing in the SEC, he's played against some of the best competition in college. He's been a multi-year player. I don't really have that much downside, but I do think he's a strong chain mover and very fluid in his hips. I would
Yeah,
say he's somewhere like a classic Steve Johnson or maybe like a modern Jacoby Myers type player, like more than Alan Hearns, somewhere in that range. So I know you're a big Jacoby Myers guy. I think Bernard could be like a little bit more athletic version of him.
absolutely. I have him wide receiver 74 at 6.4 points per game going into his rookie year.
Do you think it bodes well that his name is spelled like germ instead of Jerm? It's Germ. Like he's germy. He's gross. He needs a shower. Like I don't like that.
Maybe that means defenders will stay away from him.
Or maybe he's sick.
You can't look at it always from the negative standpoint, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, all right. My number 10, Antonio Williams out of Clemson. He's a 5'11" fellow that's 187 pounds, 9.5-inch fans, 76-inch wingspan, 4.41 40. Every one of these guys is fast. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Even the guys that are slow are fast. He understands his pacing and scrambling adjustments and how to keep routes alive when things start to break down. He's capable at the high points, able to retract and protect through contact without dropping the ball. He's strong enough through the collisions to maintain his balance and continue after the catch. He's kind of been labeled closer to Sterling Shepard type, which I guess I can kind of see. I don't know if that is a positive or negative depending on how you view Sterling Shepard, but he's very smooth. He's trusted. He can go into traffic. He can take a hit and not drop. He could be a pure slot. He could be a Z. It really depends on how you want to use him and like move him around. I think he provides a very tantalizing opportunity to snag someone day two, well, like maybe even late day two, that could end up being one of your best starters on your team immediately, and maybe even like your number two long term. So, wow. But then, maybe it doesn't work out. But I just think he's one of these guys that's probably safer, but he's kind of limited at top and wide receiver two.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I do have him at kind of mid range 7.5 points per game in year one, which isn't too bad for a bench player. So he'll probably be drafted in redraft leagues, definitely in Dynasty leagues. And let's see here, we have him at wide receiver 63.
All right, let's see where you have this next guy. Chris Bell out of Louisville is my number 9 player. His almost 6'2", 222 pounds, 10-inch hands, almost 77-inch wingspan. He did not test at the combine or his pro day because of a knee injury, which I should clarify. His biggest concerns are he's had a torn left ACL in November of 2025 that removed him from most of the draft process. He's still rough around the edges as a route runner in his own processor. He's got a strong personality and penalty history, so he's got maturity and discipline issues. So these are things to keep in mind. But his upside is so high that I think it's worth having him 9 on my list, and he's worth a day 2 pick. He's had production 737 yards, 4 touchdowns off of only 43 catches in 2024, and 917 yards and 6 touchdowns off of 72 at Louisville. His downside could be like a Traylon Burks type, who has the potential but has a lot of medical stuff and can't figure it out. His upside, though, he could be like an AJ Brown type player in the league. So there's a wide variance. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I don't necessarily think he will get to AJ Brown level, but that's just the style of player that he is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see him getting to that level. I kind of had a mid-ranged wide receiver 77 going into the year at 5.9 points per game. So I don't know if you think that's too much or too little, but
I think, with the ACL, I think he's going to be eased in his rookie year. So I don't necessarily think he's going to be that big of a contributor early on. So that makes sense to be like wide receiver 77 or something for season stats.
absolutely.
He has a very high potential. So he could be like a year 2 massive breakout person to keep an eye on.
We'll have to take a peek year 1 and his coaching staff in year 1 if that comes over to year 2, because that's a pretty big deal for these players as well.
Now we're about to hit my big slot or big X players pretty soon here. So number 8, I'm higher than other people are on Elijah Sarrett out of Indiana, the national championship team here. He's going to be 23 when the season starts, but he is 6'2.5", 10-inch hands, good wingspan, ran a good enough 40 time with 4.53, which I think is plenty good for a wide receiver. Meets the minimum threshold in my opinion. I think that the downside for him is he's not the speedy receiver. He is not a vertical guy. He actually struggled to get separation on nines, which are straight down the field. Not good enough on curls because of the speed. And I think he won't be an X receiver at the pro level. He will be a big slot guy. I kind of view him and a couple other guys in the Michael Pittman role of being used across the middle, being used to get conversions, being used to get trusted catches, not necessarily make big plays. So while his separation may not be top tier level, he absolutely gives the quarterback a trustworthy receiver to catch the ball, and he's strong and he's got strong hands in traffic. So I really like him. You watched him in college playoffs, and he made Mendoza look good, kept the team in play, being able to get some nice conversions, him and his teammate. I think he's better than what people say. Like, people really push him down for the athleticism, but that people forget that, Juju Smith-Schuster and Rashee Rice and Pittman weren't crazy athletic guys, and all of them have their uses in the pro level. And Sarrett is a good character person, so you're not going to get suspensions from him. So I might be higher than other people are, but I like Sarrett.
Yeah, this might surprise you. I mean, obviously, there's rumors that he may go in the second round to the Raiders. There's that rumor out there. So they might repair him and Mendoza back up. That I feel like that's a rumor every year, though, for these types of tandems. So just take that with a grain of salt. But I have him at 8.8 points per game at wide receiver 53.
So you kind of like him a little bit too.
I do like him. That might be his ceiling. We'll have to see.
Could be. All right. Another big boy that's been a little bit slow that I like better than these fast guys is Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame. He's a fifth-year senior. He's going to be 23 when the season starts. 6'4.5", 218 pounds, but 9-inch hands, which are good enough, but not as big as his size would indicate. But he has a 79-inch wingspan. He ran a 4.6 140, which to me is the absolute bare minimum to qualify as a pro. So I can see people having concerns with that. But he had a really good vertical with 38 inches and shuttle and 3-cone. So I'm not worried about that. I'm more interested in the agility than I am in straight line speed for him. He's a classic case where build is more attractive than his explosion. Though his 40 time was slow, his vertical was the 78th percentile, and his broad jump was 67%. And he kept up at 19 miles per hour while doing the gauntlet, so concentrating and trying to catch everything his way. So I don't have a problem. I think that's it. I think that's it for his athleticism. He's very good at congested catches. He's very good at the high point. He's going to be a very good red zone guy. Power slot, Big Z, either spot would be good for him. I view him. I was trying to find like the perfect comp. I get a little OCD about that sometimes when I think there is one that can be found. I've got Michael Floyd for him, who had some really good years with the Cardinals, whose career was cut a little short. But I could see like a Michael Floyd type for him, or a slower Michael Evans.
Yeah, Michael Evans.
Slow Michael Evans. Michael Evans with a hamstring strain, basically.
Yeah, I have him at wide receiver 73 going into this year, 6.69 points per game. So round up to 6.7 points per game, but we will see if he can live up to it.
So you're lower than I am on Fields. I thought you were a Fields person.
Nope. You're gonna get to my guy. You've ragged on my guy a little bit.
Maybe he's not even in my top 20. No, just kidding.
Oh, he definitely
Number
is.
6. So now that we're in the top 6, the top 6 to me are completely separate from everyone else that we've talked about so far. I've moved 4 through 6. I can move around a lot. They're kind of relatively close. I wouldn't necessarily say exact same tier, but I would say relatively close, just like I would say the top 3 are relatively close. But I may not view them on the same tier like most people seem to. Let's start with my number 6 is Denzel Boston out of Washington. Another big boy that's 6'3", 5/8 inches, 209 3/4 inch hands, 78-inch wingspan. He did a limited combine workout, so we really didn't get to see a 40 out of him, but decent agility, decent vertical, decent shuttle. He was a 2-year starter at Washington. So after Odunze and McMillan and Polk, and he played with Jeremy Bernard a little bit before Jeremy Bernard left Washington. But he was very productive in college. He has a very low drop rate. He looks like a classic boundary X. He looks fast enough on film. He's also played in the slot a little bit. So I could see him either as an X, a Z, or slot, depending on scheme. He's sturdy rather than explosive. He's got smooth, long strides, good build-up speed, strong coordination, enough footwork to execute double moves. He doesn't have the second gear, which might hold him back on the NFL level. But I think he has all the makings to be solid as well. I mean, I get Drake London and Tedorola McMillan's comparisons to him. I don't necessarily think that. I think he's another similar guy to Michael Pittman that has some traits of Drake London or Ted McMillan, but he's got vacuum hands. He wins at a high rate. He's got good body control, good frame, good wingspan, good adjustments. My concerns for him is separation. And when we saw him in drills at the combine, I think he dropped a lot of balls in the combine compared to his actual gameplay. So I don't know which is true. He did have ankle issues in 2025. He did have sports hernia in 2025. And I think he is probably going to be more of a complimentary two rather than a number one guy. But a lot of teams need a good number two right now. So I I still like him. I'm just not as high as I would have been. At the start of the offseason, I think I was closer to him being 4. Now he's at 6.
Yeah, have him wide receiver 56 for this year, and then 8.66 points per game. Pretty solid. You're right. He could easily take off this year as someone's number 2.
All right. I think my number 5 is probably one of your favorite wide receivers that you keep referencing, and it's Kevin Casey Concepcion. I like to say it with the accent because why not? Out of Texas A&M. Other people typically have him as their number 4. I have him at 5. He's 5'11" and 5/8 inches, 96 pounds. He's got 9-inch hands, 75-inch wingspan. Did not really run drills, but his production is weird because it kind of has like a gap. He had 71 catches for 839 yards and 10 touchdowns as a freshman at NC State. Follow that with a disappointing year. I know that there's some flux that year. Then he transferred to Texas A&M and posted 61 catches for 919 yards and 9 receiving touchdowns with a lot of drops. In the SEC, in a much tougher conference, the drops can mostly be explained by poor quarterback play. Like one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen in the SEC who threw a lot of duck passes and he had to slow down for and try to catch in coverage and getting hit. So I can't really put that all on him. I will say, though, that because of that, he has a tendency to fear getting hit when catching the ball, and that's something I really don't like with wide receivers. So he does the hand clap attack when he's trying to catch the football and has some concentration issues. So those are the things I don't like about him. But what I do like about him is he is arguably the best separator in the class. He arguably is the best wide receiver at release in the class. He's very speedy. He can make a big play out of a bad play, and I think he shows a lot of potential. There's not much more to say about him. If you watch him, he either looks good or bad to you, depending on who you are. I'm kind of trying to be as down the middle as I can about him, but he's definitely a Z or a slot guy immediately. He's immediately a starter, probably pushes his way at least as a wide receiver 2, unless it's a really crowded room, which we've seen wide receivers go to before. Then he'd be forced into a 3. It's not that I don't like him. I do like him. I just don't think I think people are pushing too much expectations early on him. And I don't think he's a first round guy, in my opinion. I think he and Boston are on the border, low end first, high end second. So maybe some teams want to squeeze in and get the 5th-year option, but people are pushing him to like, I don't know, number 13 to like the Rams. And I think that's way too high for him. But Jeff, pretty sure this is one of your guys, right?
He's actually only one spot ahead of Denzel Washington. So there is
Denzel Washington.
I mean, Denzel Boston out of Washington, right?
Ugh.
You
Is
know,
there a Denzel New York next or what?
I don't know. I keep typing as fast as you're speaking, and sometimes I type wrong, and that actually happened here. But 8.7 points per game for KC Concepcion, and we'll see where he lands. And I know a lot of places like pushing Buffalo and those other teams to grab him, but we will see.
All right. My number 4 is Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. Yeah. I think he's solidly in the first round right now. 6 foot, 200 pounds, 9-inch, 3 3/4 inch hands, 4.42 40, which I'm not surprised by because while in 2024 he had only 28 catches for 94 yards and 7 touchdowns and 69 catches for 937 yards and 13 touchdowns last year. He also had a 75-yard rushing touchdown. Speed on display there. He's compact and powerful with the outstanding body control and balance. He is a better than manufactured touch only, which is what people kind of say about him. That he's another screen merchant, another slot guy. I think he's someone that is a functional separator and he's got good awareness. He shows strength throughout his route tree. He still has some refinement to become a true full-on volume guy, rather than like a gadget movement guy. But he's big. He's got strong hands. He's fearless catching in traffic and through coverage. He's definitely the first, the first Debo Samuel comparison that actually might be closer to spot on is Omar Cooper. So I really think that he is that type. I think he's going to interest all of the Shanahan style teams who want to have a Debo Samuel like wide receiver. So he's a slaughter Z guy. He's not an X guy. Not really much of a medical history. I mean, he had one ACL in high school. But again, we watched Indiana in the playoffs and the wide receivers bail out Mendoza on some plays and make big plays themselves. Jeff, where do you have Omar Cooper? And is 4 a valid spot for him?
It is a valid spot for him. I probably have Boston in Concepcion ahead of him right now, but we'll see where he ends up landing. But interestingly enough, he does have a better year one outlook than those two, with wide receiver 46 and 9.4 points per game.
All right, let's see. I think the last mock draft I played with, I think I gave him to the Panthers.
Gonna do 3 years in a row with a receiver in the first round?
Well, their GM did say there's no rule against it.
That is true.
All right, next guy here. And I could flip him and the number 2 guy. It doesn't really matter to me, but he's number 3 for medical reasons. It's Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Coincidentally, while we're recording, I think he's having his workout for teams. But he is 6'2", 203 pounds, a little bit over 9-inch hands. He hasn't run any drills because he keeps pulling his hamstring, which ties into the concerns, which are very medical. He's had an ACL, MCL, PCL damage in 2022. He missed 2023. Had a collarbone break in 2024. Ankle issue in the spring of 25. Hamstring in 25. Just, you never know with him. Availability is going to be an issue, but his college coach, Hines Ward, of all people, said that he is a tough wide receiver and gutted through some stuff and played hard. So tough, but injury prone. In 2024, he had good production, 75 catches for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. On an injury shortened year, last year he had 61 catches for 711 yards and 8 touchdowns in just 9 games. His athletic profile, he appears to be on film very athletic, but there's no drill measurements, which doesn't really matter that much anyway. But on film, he's very fast. He's very raw. He's probably a movement Z or a vertical X, depending on how you want to use him. Definitely not a slot guy. He's good at tracking the ball. You can watch him adjust midair pretty easily. He's high upside, very explosive, very volatile. He could be, I don't know, like a combination of DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin, or you could say higher upside Christian Watson with more injury risk. I think durability could be an issue, and today we'll find out. Did his media day hurt him or help him in the draft process? We've heard, Saints at 8 or Kansas City at 9 might take him at those spots, which to me seems a little high for the risk, but he is that athletically gifted and talented when you watch some of his play. So, Jeff, are you lower or higher than number 3 on Jordan Tyson?
I mean, he's my number 1 receiver for the rookies coming out of this one as far as point-wise go. So I don't know if he'll have a long career, but year 1, he has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, 10.77 points per game. Wide receiver 28 on the initial projections.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yep, he's the one that I think has the best chance of being an alpha out of this this class, just his health is the biggest question mark, as you mentioned. So should push him down a little bit.
Yeah, you're not alone, but I've seen the top three guys, I would say half have one particular guy as their number one. The other half are split between Tyson and my number two guy, Makai Lemon, out of USC. So he is a slot merchant here and almost exclusively a slot guy, but he's 5'11", 9-inch hands. He apparently ran a 4.5 40, which is not as fast as I would have expected him to run based on watching him in college. He only had 6 catches as a freshman, but as a sophomore, he broke out with 52 catches for 764 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then last year had 79 catches with 1,156 yards and 11 touchdowns. Yeah. He's got 2 years of production, last year being excellent. Played in the Big Ten, which because of NIL rules is becoming as good or maybe even better than the SEC now because they've got all that money. He's a ready-made slot demon. Does enough things on his skill set to be top level to become a starter or a leading contributor, depending on what system he's in. He needs to probably be more prepared for physical coverage on the pro level, but he's smooth. He's a manipulative route runner, catches everything thrown his way. He's got a low drop rate. Didn't really have the best quarterback play, but still excelled. I really don't have anything super negative to say about him. Although I was surprised that he wasn't as fast as I expected. He is slot only. Those are really the two biggest issues, but we've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jackson Smith and Jigba both excel in the NFL as slot only guys, or, Justin Jefferson too, but Justin Jefferson's much bigger. Is Makai Lemon your number 2 or number 3 wide receiver?
He is my number 2 behind Tyson.
Ooh.
This year,
Jeffrey.
8.665 points per game, so 8.66 points per game for this guy. Wide receiver 44, I have him going into this year, so he could be the next St. Brown, to your point.
I think he could go top half of the first round, most likely.
Oh, yeah. Probably tops out of the top 10, top 12. I've seen the Rams taking him in some mocks.
Yeah, so I would think the sweet spot for him is 8 at the Saints or 13 to the Rams, somewhere in that range, I would guess. I guess he could go as high as 7, but I really don't feel like he's there. But I like him other than his creepy eyes at the combine interview. That was not something I want to see again or get stuck in my head. But I like all 3 of the top 3 guys in their own ways, but I like apparently your number 3 guy is my number 1 guy, and overwhelmingly, I think in every way he should be the number 1 guy, and that's Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. That rhymed. He's gonna be 21 when the season starts. 6'2" and 1/4 inch, 192 pounds, 10 and 1/4 inch hands, 78-inch wingspan. Ran a 4.53 40, which is plenty good to me. I don't need him to be a burner, although he's been an outside guy. He wins with breaking ankles, changing direction, double moves. He gets separation with savviness, and despite being in a very crowded wide receiver room and waiting behind other talented guys, 2024 he put up 52 catches for 733 yards and 4 touchdowns, and 51 catches for 875 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. And he did that missing 3 games with a leg injury. So I think nothing is wasted in his movement against man coverage. Every jab, facing change, vertical push, all has purpose. Tate wins more with pacing and body control than suddiness. He's crafty. He can sell comebacks. He does everything that you need to do. He's the most polished guy in this entire class. Got 12 of 14 contested targets in 2025. Was one of only 4 FBS receivers with 66 plus targets and no drops that season. Yeah, everything for me: body control, balance, willingness to block, route running. He's excellent. And I mean, I would compare him to Justin Jefferson. Like, this is very similar to how I felt about Justin Jefferson in his draft class. You can ask my friends. I loved Justin Jefferson in the draft. I watched the national championship game and said that guy is a star. For me, I look at Tate, and when I watch Tate, I think the same thing. And we can see the success with JSN. JSN's a slightly different wide receiver. Emeka Buka is slightly different, but they both have overlapping skills with Carnell Tate. I really like him a lot. I can't say enough nice things about him. And I would hate for him to go to the Browns, but that's likely where he's going to go.
Could happen. Could give Shador his number one weapon for the next 10 years. No comment on Shador?
Yeah. Shador, this is Shador's last season before the Shador closes on him. But
if he does well, though,
he won't. He won't.
he
But Carnell Tate is in a tier of his own, in my opinion, in this class. Can't necessarily put him at the fully elite level, but he's at the very, very, very good wide receiver level, just below superstar level. Everyone else is the tier below that. So what is that?
In my opinion, he's going to take a little while to get to that point. So we'll see if he can do that in year one. But I have him at 7.006 points per game, wide receiver 67 going into this year.
Well, you look at his former Ohio State guys, JSN and Egbuka, both got drafted to teams that already had two wide receivers in front of them, and then they're going to take over now. So he might get drafted in a similar situation as that, where he goes to where two studs are. But if he doesn't go to a place where two studs are, then I would expect him to immediately be the guy or one of the top two guys on the team year one. So it really depends on landing spot. But ultimately, talent's going to win out. And if you're in a dynasty league, he probably should be your number two, the number two overall.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. I do like Lemon number two overall, and then Tyson, and then Tate. So I would reverse them, but that's only because I've seen what St. Brown can do. He's safe even when Justin Jefferson isn't safe.
Yeah, we'll see. But
and if he goes to Cleveland, he should go a lot low.
If I'm in a dynasty league, I want any of the top four picks. I feel pretty strongly that all of those guys can contribute very well one way or the other, because we have Jeremiah Love at running back, and then Carnell Tate and Mekhi Lemon and Tyson. To me, it's mostly choose your flavor. I think Carnell Tate's the safest bet, most polished, most likely to stay an elite receiver when the time comes. And Mekhi Lemon really depends on how well the team uses the slot. Jordan Tyson depends on, can the quarterback get him the ball, and can he stay healthy?
Absolutely, on the health part.
Yeah, so that was that made a lot of the decision for me. These guys are just about as talented, but one's purely a slot, which limits him, and the other one, what happens when a fast receiver can't get the ball, and what happens when he can't stay on the field. But when he's on the field, he's excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's your number 5 in Dynasty right now? Is it Omar Cooper or is it Mike Washington?
Oh my God. I mean, or is it a tight end? It could be a tight end, but I don't know right now.
You would take a tight end that
high? 5 is probably going to be very dependent on post-draft movement. But
landing spot.
But I mean, I would lean Cooper and Concepcion at the 5 and 6 right now, pre-draft. And I've made mistakes overdrafting running back because of scarcity of position, and it doesn't work out. But just draft best available when it comes to dynasty, and work on trades to flesh your roster out, rather than don't draft for needs or position scarcity. I would rather draft good wide receivers than okay running backs at good landing spots.
And I think that's completely reasonable. I was just trying to see if I had any 5th picks in any drafts.
I have 6 and 7, and I can't get anyone to trade right now.
6-7, man.
6-7,
6-7.
6-7.
Yep. I have 1-4, and I have 1-4-7 in a league, and none of those picks are mine, my original ones.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you just saw that, but RSO added the original team to the pick in the war room.
Well, nice. That's
So
good.
now I can see whose pick it was.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. In one league that we're in together, I had the 6th pick, and I could have waited and probably traded for Kenneth Walker, but I went ahead and made moves and got the 2nd overall pick, which definitely going to use on Carnell Tate. But
Even in Cleveland?
even in Cleveland, talent wins out.
Okay. We see what happened to Marvin Harrison Jr. I heard that before.
Well, guess what? He's still there and his quarterback's gone.
Well, I heard his other quarterback's not showing up right now because he wants a new contract. So Jacoby Brissett is holding out right now at the voluntary portion.
Good luck, bud. Good luck.
He's old.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you're a backup, all right? You might be able to get a couple more $1 million, but you're not getting a starter amount of money. I mean, I'm almost to the point where I'm like, Texans, why don't you offer CJ Stroud to the Cardinals for the 3rd overall pick? Just roll the season with Davis Mills. Let's roll.
Right? There you go.
Trade out of the 28 for a future pick.
There you go. I don't think they'll do it, but then we have to
Why?
watch the
They should.
reporter walk down the street unclothed.
Gosh.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that. Ugh.
Yep. So this is why the Texans are holding on to him, because they don't want to be responsible for.
They don't want to see a 60-something-year-old John McClane, who's also a little bit on the heavy side, go naked downtown Houston.
Nope.
No thanks. No thanks.
Nope. They don't want to be accessory to that, so they're just going to hold on to Stroud.
All right. Well, I think we have chatted enough here, so let's close out. And that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading or listening to this episode, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy, and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.